Good evening, good evening, good evening. I do apologize for my tardiness. Um, I had to get a few things done before I jumped on. But if this is your first time joining me, welcome to Healing Room Tarot with yours truly, Magoon. I'm also known as B. So if you ever hear like a guest speaker, call me either of those things. That's why. So I thank you for tonight, for joining me tonight. The readings I will say they're not for a specific date and time. So whenever you come across the readings, that's when it's for you. But the conversations are real, right? Because there's some things that need to be discussed, messages that Spirit wants to reveal to the collective. And overall, Spirit wants to make sure that these messages are getting out to the right people at the right appointed time. So, I was getting ready to go into well, I'll go ahead and say it because if it's there for me to say it, I'm going to say it. Tonight's reading, I did pull some cards. I have not looked at those cards. In fact, my light went out. That was one of the things I had to fix um, just before or while I was shuffling and dealing them out. So I really don't know what cards are coming out. But I was led to do a pre shuffle and pull, and I'm going to start off with those um, during the talk to see what Spirit is saying, and then get into the message in, I guess you would say, in real time. So, uh, yeah, but in real time. But I do want to say that for those who, if you're just now joining me, I operate in a multitude of gifts. I never know which ones until Spirit tells me which one that I should be using. Um, Tonight it is the cards, but so there, if you see a previous video that I've made or in the future, you may see me not even use the cards. And that is why, because I am an intuitive person, I am an empath, I'm a multitude of things. I'll just to keep it safe um, and short. So, welcome. Please like, share, subscribe if you are so led to, if you enjoyed tonight's reading. And without further ado, and if you feel like someone should listen to the messages. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead into the reading. So, during the pre shuffle, and tonight we are talking about the kids. So, let me go ahead and start by saying that. And it is important because I was volunteering with a group earlier, and I've been saying this for a while. It's important that people start to look at their children with everything that's happening in this world. And if you're in the United States with our education and in the world, it's important for the parents to hone down on what their children are learning and how they are learning, and if they are able to learn, right? Because the conversations I was having with these ladies were that the children can read, and that's good, but they may not be able to comprehend what they are reading. And it's the same for this space. People who just use the tarot cards for fun, they be like, oh, yeah, I did. I pulled this card and I pulled this card, and this is what it means. And they're reading the book. And there's some people who read the tarot like that, right? And then there's some of us that are truly intuitive, true readers, and we read the cards that Spirit has allowed to come out for the people. And like I said, I don't oftentimes, all the time rather, use the cards because there are some instances where I may not have a deck on me. And so Spirit's talking to me directly what to say to somebody. As an intuitive person, as an empath, that has come naturally to me. And I even met someone on this past Friday, and the person said, I don't think I have intuition. I can't even see the cards and like see anything. If you're a reader, you know what I mean. Seeing with that third eye. And I thought that was interesting And Spirit began to talk to me about the person and said, tools. And I'm like, tools? What about tools? And then I said, so what do you do? Like, what is your gift naturally? And the person began to talk about drawing. And I said, okay, well, maybe that is your gift. You may just be a drawer, and that is how you deliver your message. And the person began to say, oh, yeah, there are some times when I just feel like I have to draw something and I just pick up a pen and draw. And I said, exactly, that's how your gift works. There are so many, and I'm going to use this term lightly, but so many prophetic gifts that give you a message, so many sight gifts that you can use. It can be singing, it can be dancing. However, it can usher in a change in someone, it can spark an idea in someone. And that is, you come to understand that because of your comprehension skill set. You come to understand this by the books that you read, and you see that, oh, wow, they use this practice to call down the spirit or to commune with spirit. Okay, not everybody does that. It is proven. I mean, just look at history and look at history that's being erased because it is there, right? So when we're talking about our children, you have to think about what kind of legacy are you trying to leave your children? And this is just in the general sense. Whatever you're leaving them, will they be able to understand and comprehend what it is that you're leaving? If you're leaving a family estate, if they don't see the value in that estate, they will sell it to the first person that says, hey, I want to buy this off of your hands, not realizing that it is prime real estate in the middle of the city. I have a friend in Harlem, and I remember at the time he was living with his grandmother, and it was her home, and she had bought it. Like, she made sure that she went ahead and bought the property flat out so that it's hers, it's in her land, it's in her name. Nobody can take it from her. Great idea, grandmother. She willed it to him. So after her passing, he still lives in Harlem. And I say that because when we're talking about gentrification, many families were pushed out of those homes. And he has an original built brownstone home. So if you're from the New York area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the thing about it is, he saw the value of it, because as the prices are rising, there are many people that can't afford to move in, and there's many families that can't afford to move out, so they lose their home and they're homeless. He saw the value of that property and he said, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to live here, I'm not selling it. It was willed to me, I'm going to live it, I'm going to put it to use. And he is flourishing out there. So my friend, I'm not going to say your name, so I don't want people stalking you. But if you see this video, proud of you. And I'm so glad that you saw the value in that property. There was a story about my own family and about moving and leaving land behind. And at first, I thought it was, why would you leave prime real estate if you if we had land on the beach? Why did we leave the beach, right? But doing digging in history, I'm finding out that that wasn't the case. They didn't want to necessarily leave, but it was the pressures and the laws of that time, because I am a brown skinned person. Not all of my family is brown skinned. However, we're known as brown people, which is ironic because we're actually of mixed blood. We're black, indigenous, like native indigenous. We're also Hispanic, and we're also white. We're known as Melungeon. Look it up. People would tell you that all Melungeons are white presenting. That is not the case. I'm here to demystify that. Um, some of our families just moved from the Appalachian into other areas, and yes, they commingled with other families. But my family has a intertwined mingling, especially from the native side. Not all mixed people are light skinned. Not all brown people are just African. Not all brown people were slaves in America. So I want to put that out there because I want you to see not the dichotomy, but I want you to see the different hats that people can wear. But if you only took what was given to you and you didn't read and you don't comprehend, then you're going to miss something. And it's important for these things because as we're in this space, it is important for you to understand traditions and why your ancestors did certain things. Why was candles used? Why was fresh water used? Why was rainwater used? You have to understand why people planted crops at certain times and not just because of the almanac, right? Uh, which is a type of witchery, if you want to be real, right? It's a type of spiritualism that was created based off of, guess what? Shamanic practices of watching and studying and communing with the earth. But of course, people will not tell you that. They'll say, they were so intelligent that they studied the earth and da 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 da. And and when somebody else can tell your story and shut you up, then the truth isn't there because there's key elements that will not get told. There's key elements that will be intentionally not told, right? And so it's important that the children understand what they're reading, the why, the whom, the where, and the how. Now, there were some practices, even in my family, that were not passed down because the family decided, oh, we're not gonna deal with these practices. And there were things that I was doing naturally. I didn't realize that it was something spiritual. I thought everybody lived the way that I lived as a kid. And then I grow up to find out that I'm doing things that mixes the spiritual world with this, as we call it, the 3D world. So you may have a gifted son or daughter and they don't understand what they're going through. And you don't because nobody's passed down the lineage. And so then they begin to read a book. And I'm like, oh, I do that. Oh, I could do that. You know, I've seen a ghost. And then it just goes over their head because they're not comprehending that, oh, I have this ability. And then it comes to the point of the child understanding who to talk to about said ability. Because let's face it, we live in a society where some people are being called quacks. Some people don't want to know the truth. Some people believe that there's only one truth, not realizing that the whole spiritual world exists first and foremost above this natural world. And so it's important for these babies to understand and comprehend everything correctly because there's even some adults who don't understand and comprehend things. And that's why there's a lot of readers that say you can't touch everything. You have to see if your ancestors will allow you to. And that's why some people they start to do get into the esoteric and things start happening, unexplained things, diseases, losing their minds. As people say, like, oh, they went crazy. No, they're being tormented mentally, and they don't recognize it. There's people who have coming across entities, and they ride in them entities have taken over. And what's funny is I'm starting to hear the Christian terminology. For those who don't know, I was raised in the Christian church. um and so I'm starting to hear some of the words. And so it's, if you've ever heard the scripture where they said, oh, they return to a reprobate mind, it means that basically that an entity has taken over their mind, and they are no longer themselves. They can no longer act, think, or move on their own behalf anymore. Their free will has been taken away, and they are being held hostage from within. There's some people, I'm hearing this and I'm seeing this. People are locked up in their spiritual, uh, they're like their spirits are locked up inside of their own bodies. Like, how is it that you can live on this earth and be bound in chains, bound, just bound internally, externally? You know, those there's people out there that exist. um I didn't recognize about traveling, and I just saw something the other day where the singer Maya was talking about how she used to astro project. And I think that's interesting because there were some things that I learned, because I used to do that as well when I was younger, but I didn't know what it was. um and then when I got older and I began to talk to people, and I was like, yeah, I was trying to run and I couldn't run. And I had an out of body experience one day, and I was trying to, get to my bus. I saw my bus and everything, and I couldn't run, and it finally threw me back, and I just said, and then I walked, and they were like, yeah, because if you had detached from your body, you would have died. And I got scared because I'm like, nobody told me. Nobody told me. You wouldn't be hearing or seeing me today, because I would have died at that age. I was, what, 10, 11? I would have died at 10/11 years old, and y'all wouldn't have, this channel would not exist. The things that I have done for the community would not have happened or existed, because I wouldn't be here, because nobody talked to me about these things. And when somebody is highly spiritual and they don't have the tools to use nor know where to get them, they fumble through the earth trying to figure out the pieces until they come of age, if they come of age, and is able to comprehend the material and resources that are available. There's so many people that can have a conversation, and the conversation goes over their head because they're not comprehending what is being said to them, being told to them, which is why you will hear certain readers in personal readings. Even I would even say, especially if you go to church and you see the prophets, right? They will ask, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" Because they really want you to get the message. Spirit is really wanting this next generation to get the message, but it is your responsibility to make sure and ensure that they are able to comprehend everything that they get. Otherwise, we're losing a whole generation of people. And I don't know why I keep get, maybe it's my ancestors, but I'm going back to the indigenous trials where people were forced, to learn to stop their cultural practices. And that's nothing that you want to do, because that's how we were communing with spirit. And that's why you have certain people that still practice the olden ways, right? And it's because it is not a lost method or a lost art. It is something that's so powerful, so sacred, that spirit is like, I want to commune with them, because it's important that the messages that come from above reaches the earth. I should also tell you, if you hadn't noticed, I'm a big person on taking care of the earth. I've been connected with Gaia for the long time, and I say that intentionally because there's some Nordic stuff that I'm naturally attracted to. I found out that I have ancestry in these places. So my ancestors from way back commune and connect with me. And so it comes out in certain ways. So I, as a kid, I've always known the importance of taking care of the earth, of giving back, because the earth comes back and gives to us. And spirit is also using things in the earth and of the earth for us to use. But if you do not know how to use what has already naturally been given to us, I'm not going to say that it's a lost cause, because it's not, but you're missing out on so much capability and opportunity and natural resources that is given to you. And when you do not comprehend these things or understand these things or cannot read the manual that tells you, right? Or take in the information from the conversation, then we are now lost. Okay, and spirit's telling me get to the cards. So the first thing, Six of Wands is the first card that fell out in the pre-shuffle. Now, these are the pre-shuffle cards, meaning pay attention. Play, not play, but pay close attention to how you're moving so that the children can know what is in the spotlight and what is not. If you understand what's going on and what's happening, then the children can understand what's going on. If you're still learning, say that, but take your children with you. How many times do children learn things that they're not supposed to learn? And we say, "Oh, they're not gonna learn that. This is adult stuff." But the kid is right there soaking it all in. And to give a prime example, my first HIV lesson was when I was 2 years old, and I remembered it. My mother had a really close friend who became HIV positive from her husband. Not going down that rabbit hole, but that's what happened. And to this day, I can tell you every single thing, the details of us driving to her apartment, opening her door, walking up the stairs, talking to her, me giving her a hug, me going down the stairs, getting her a plastic fork because we didn't know if she was to prick herself, she would bleed easily, basically. Um, so children are able to grasp things that you may not think, okay, they're not going to grasp this. Yes, they will. So if you're with your child and you're trying to, if you want to learn something and your child is interested in it, or you feeling led to take that child with you, take them with you. Let them learn with you. The biggest thing is that they have to learn some way and somehow. The next card is the moon, right? Because you're not going to see everything. You're not going to see all the experiences that your children will have. So if you teach them the tools now, when they reach those experiences, whether or not they tell you or not, they know how to handle them. They don't crash out. They don't burn out. They don't say, oh, the sky is falling like Chicken Little. I mean, I had to say it like that, but but they oh, I'm seeing everybody now. Hello. But they're not gonna crash out and be like Chicken Little and say, oh, the sky is falling, help, help, help. They'll be able to say, oh, is this what's happening right now? Okay, I know how to handle this. I know how to deal with this. My mom taught me, my father taught me. I remember reading, and this is what we got to do. And then they get on it. The next, Ace of Pentacles. And this is kind of summing up what I just stated, right? They have new opportunities. They see it all as opportunities. That's what I just heard. They see things as opportunities to work magic. They see these as their time to shine again because they know what is what. Ten of Swords, right? They don't have to worry about overthinking. They don't have to worry about somebody putting in negative information to something that they already know. When you know the truth, when somebody lies to you, you see it. When you are able to comprehend fact versus fiction, you know which way to go each time. There are some people who, even in this age of AI, and I will go on to say in this version of AI, because AI has been with us since the late 50s, early 60s. Let me first put that out there for those who didn't know that. But there's people that cannot differentiate between what is an AI ad and not. For me, it's easy. I can hear it. It sounds like somebody talking in a, I don't know, in a bowl or something, and their voice, it sounds off. That's how I'm able to tell. And then there's other things where it's just because it's not all the time where you see like a person going like this and they have like three extra fingers, right? It's not all the time that way. It's more than just the movement. It's the sound and the quality. And then if you're not able to pick that up, you'll be like, oh, this was a real message, and you'll run with it. Like there was something where there was a young lady talking about how she was kicked out of her home, and she began to do a sewing project, and she was now living in her car, and to donate to her. Well, I just looked at the story and I was just like, I don't know about this. Yesterday, I saw a story about a young man, same storyline, different, but it was bat wing cape, and I said, interesting. Um, and it's interesting because both sets of families were black. And it was saying how the black family or the black parent that was in charge was not supporting the child. And I said, now typically that is not the case. It's something else, right? If it's something that a skill set that the parent sees that a child is doing, they will kind of push that. It's when they want to be a rapper or some type of singer that they're like, okay, now sweetie, we need, let's be real. We will work on this if you're serious, but we're not gonna do this. Or we don't have the funny, the I mean finances. I don't know where the funny came in. But the finances to fund this, right? And they'll have that talk. There are some parents that will just flat out do that, right? But the way this was set up, you can tell that it was AI, it was fiction. So I'm going to, from that perspective, say, do not do that with your children when it comes to their learning capabilities and abilities to learn. Do not in do not okay, so yeah, it's going to be a double negative. Do not invest in your children while they're learning. And if you know somebody who is not investing, have this conversation with them. Let them know it is not okay that they have passed your child on to the next grade and they still don't know how to write. How can they write their story? How can they learn to write spells? They don't know how to write. And not only that, if they do write, can you read what they wrote? The conversation earlier was the child was writing, and it, you know how a baby when they're first learning to write, they write like a big letter and then a small letter and then another big letter, and then it's like the letters are literally looking like this, and it's like, oh, okay, sweetie, good job. But when you become of age and you're still writing like that, now we have a problem, because now we're talking about a rising adult that have a learning disability. And it's not to shame these people, right? But it is, somebody did not put in the effort and the time to teach and train them as a child. And now they struggle to comprehend and read the room the correct way. And how can you teach somebody intuition if they can't get the basics, right? Because when they use their intuition, they're not going to be able to interpret what they are feeling the right way. They may not even have all of the words. Now, there are some that can comprehend, and that is because spirit has undergirded them in some ways, and they may not be able to read or write. So I'm not going to say totally discredit spirit's capabilities, right? That's not what I'm doing. What I am saying is that we must invest in the future because we have a lot of social media that people from the past don't have. And so they're learning a lot of things that they can't. And I share that because I have a great uncle, or had a great uncle, who was a medicine man, couldn't read, couldn't write, but he could mix those herbs. And those herbs healed a lot of people. And so protect your children's space, protect their minds. Because we're living in an age, this is the Seven of Wands here. We're living in an age of technology where they are being exposed to many things and not the right things all the time, right? So we must protect them at all costs. Children have to learn to protect themselves as well. If someone was to create a crystal book for kids or spells for kids that they can use for basic protection, and someone gifts them these things and they're not able to say them or write them, then that child is walking around with the resources but not knowing how to utilize the resources. I'm seeing the Seven of Pentacles upside down right now in reverse because that's the energy of that. The overall reading, and as this card is upside down, I'm gonna flip. Ooh, hopefully, hold on. Yeah, this card is good. So we're gonna read this together. What is this? Five of Wands. The overall reading for the pre-shuffle is this: if you do not teach these children how to comprehend and learn, they will struggle. They will fight when they don't have to. This is not, I just heard mental struggles as well, internal struggles. It's not just finances and their everyday resources. They will literally struggle and fight because they don't know how to utilize the tools given to them. Now that's the pre-shuffle. Now we're going to get into, I'm going to go ahead and get into them now, to what else Spirit would like to say to the collective. And take it from me as someone who was a child who was in this space. The only books that we had were fictional books, um, magical books of different things. Like the closest thing I can think of right now is Narnia. Um, that's the closest thing I can think of right now at this moment. Because I was thinking about Stone Soup. Oh yeah, that is a magical thing, like where they brought in all the vegetables and the stones, right? A lot of people don't think it is, but that's a magical book. Excuse me. Also, if you have any questions and you're able to drop them in the chat, please do. Um, whew. I just had a wave to hit me. For those that have been with me for a long time, you understand when a wave hit me, that is Spirit's way of doing something. Okay, I'm gonna read these right now. So the first card that came out is the Two of Swords. They're and it's going on with not being able to make the right decision, or not making a decision at all, because they don't have the capabilities. They will always feel defeated. The children will always feel defeat in some sort. But then we have the Ace of Cups here. By teaching them, they will always understand how Spirit is gifting them with something, or preparing them to receive a gift. But that comes with understanding. Then we have the Four of Pentacles in reverse. What I'm getting or picking up is that they will feel gypped. Once the children learn the truth, they will feel gypped. They will feel like they've been toyed with, right? Because people understood that they needed to learn these things and they did not teach them. It's the same conversation that I had with my mom when my mother told me that, oh, I used to live around the corner from Patty LaBelle. And I'm like, excuse me, you did what? Yeah, we would ride the same bus together. Excuse me, you did what? And she's not my godmother? What, ma'am? So it's like one of those things where it's like they're gonna feel like they missed opportunities that they didn't even know was possible for them, right? And how many people feel that way? How many people feel like, oh, I could have done this, but this opportunity was here, but it was taken from me, or was never presented to me? Or how I know whenever I was a kid and I used to see the kids on Disney, oh, I wish I lived in Florida or somewhere near where I could be on the cast of Disney, right? In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't. That's another story. But um, they will also not only just feel like the opportunities that present itself, they will also believe that they're supposed to live this way. There's so many people who do not dream. I didn't realize that until I got older, but it's a lot of people who it's not even a dream deferred. It's like a dead dream. Like when they were a kid, they had these dreams, and then they got older and they're like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. And so they get in this energy. So they get in this angry energy, and they start to become destructive and not productive. And as a result, they continue to live in spaces that were supposed to be temporary, like a learning ground for them, right? And so nobody wants their child to be living beneath their means. But if you teach them and work with them, they will learn to not only dream, but they will learn that they have options, and many options. They will understand that sometimes it may not, Spirit just said, don't remind them that they will also be able to determine which is for them and which is not for them, which opportunities is for them and which opportunities is not for them. But they will be able to to dream a thing and know that it's going to happen. They'll be able to say that I want this and be able to manifest these things. How many people actually talk to their children about manifestation, right? This is that's nothing that a child has to learn, that a person has to learn as an adult. No, talk about manifestation early. I can't remember if it was, oh no, this was it wasn't in this space, but I shared a story maybe about 2 Sundays ago now, on how whenever I was a kid, I used to go around saying, I've got money, I've got money, I've got money. I didn't have a job. I was a kid. But people started giving me money, $5 here, $2 here, $20 here. My mom's like, why people keep giving you money? And I was like, because I keep saying I have money. And you told me to call those things as though they were. So I say that I have money, and guess what? People are giving me money. And she was like, well, can you call me some money? But the thing is that when you teach the children that and they are able to comprehend what you're teaching them, they can manifest things. They can manifest grades, good grades, and high honors and high and scholarships and opportunities and open doors, right? So and it also has to align with how spirit has them, right, guided. um but the thing is, if you teach them early and they comprehend it and they have the skill set to comprehend, it will come naturally and easy for them, right? So I really feel like that's the complete message for tonight in the conversation, but I am pulling cards to see what else comes out. Yeah, this is the Ten of Wands in reverse. Um, what I'm getting is that yeah, they will always feel like they have to carry burdens that's not for them. They will always feel the weight of other things that they don't have to carry. I'm hearing a name, Carrie Johnson, right now. I don't know if you know a Carrie Johnson or if this is something that she has to go through, but or maybe Carrie, you're watching this later. I'm just hearing it. I have the Knight of Swords here, of protected thoughts, but but what I just heard was dream stealers, and this goes back to the children learning how to protect themselves. When there's people that will steal their dreams, that will kill their dreams, that will kill out their tongue of manifestation, what happens is that um they start to believe that person, and their dreams start to die out, and they get into this Four of Pentacles in reverse energy. Ah, they will always be stuck. It's a lot of the same messages, but this is the Tower. The Tower is supposed to disrupt things, to shake things up and shake it loose for you. But if they're stuck and they can't get out, it's like they're in a burning building and can't be freed. They don't have that enlightenment. They don't get the breakthrough that they need. Okay, Spirit is definitely throwing these cards out. Um, we have Justice here and we have Death. What's interesting is that Justice came out upright and Death came out in the reverse, meaning they will never see or comprehend their breakthrough. It is so in my other tarot deck, the Light Seers Oracle Tarot, there's this depiction of the Five of Pentacles where there's a little girl. She's like this. She's on her knees and she's looking down because she believes that she's locked in this room. And there's a door with a keyhole, but there's a keyhole on the side of the room, or there's a key on the side of the door in the corner that she does not see. And this is that same type of energy. It is the same type of energy. We just all celebrated Juneteenth, this past Thursday, Friday, and so it's the same energy as the story of Juneteenth, where the slaves were freed, right? You had a whole group of slaves that were freed. I mean, not a whole group of slaves, but the slaves were freed. But this group of slaves did not know that they were free because they could not receive the message. They were not seeing things clearly. And so they were walking around, justice has been served, but they were walking around thinking that they were not free. And that's how some of the children will begin to move if they don't comprehend. I'm hearing my grandmother's voice right now, and she said she always would tell us that education, getting your education, was important, not just to learn, but because of what the learning does for you, it will free your mind. Okay, you've been told to put these back. Um, but that was the Page of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune. They were both in the reverse, but Spirit told me to turn them and put them back in the deck. But I will say this, that it gives the energy of, with the Page of Wands, sometimes the message will not come through clearly. And if they miss that message, then the wheel would not turn in their favor, right? We have the Nine of Swords being tormented. Again, here's the torment. And this is a mental tormentation. Tormentation. I've developed a new word. Um, but it's being tormented. When a child cannot comprehend the right way, they will be tormented. And we see this in our schools. The little boy or the little girl starts to act up in class, and instead of the teacher really understanding what's the problem, they write the child off as being disruptive in class and things of that nature, when really they're frustrated because they don't know how to read or write, and they don't want their peers that can to know that they can't, because that would make them an open target to be bullied. We have the King of Pentacles here in reverse, growing up with all the wealth and all the riches that they can get their hands to. But guess what? I'm hearing that they have holes in their pocket. And this king does not invest the right way. This king spins, just spins without thinking. And a kingdom cannot stand in that format. I'm hearing the kingdom needs investors. And how can you get investors if you can't even sit at the table with the investors? That's one last card coming out. I'm really seeing. Oh, okay. Um, what I was seeing is the Fool card not being able, walking, but not walking with spirit, making decisions, foolish decisions. I can't turn this card over because of the print that's on it, but it is the Star card. I will do this so that you can see that it is the Star card. Um, and it is in the upright. For the children to get their dreams and all, their hopes, for them to believe that they can manifest the right way, the correct way, that the earth and spirit has been aligned for them. In order for them to have the hope and the faith of the earth, they must be able to comprehend and understand the text given to them that inspires. Uh, just like the painter that I was talking of earlier, there's people that are divinely inspired to write text for inspiration and teaching. But if they cannot comprehend or read these materials, it's a resource that they don't know how to use because they can't comprehend. And that's tonight's talk, everyone. So hope you got something out of it. Again, please like, share, and subscribe, and share with those that you feel like um, need to hear this message. And I know I spoke on a lot of spiritual things tonight, but this applies to the natural as well, right? We don't want our young children to continue to be passed along and not being able to comprehend reading and mathematical materials because it's needed for whenever they are going out for their job, whether they decide to go to college or not. They will need it. They need to understand when somebody is trying to shortchange them, right? So, unless anyone has any questions or would like a personal reading, I do personal readings. Please inbox me. I haven't seen anything in my inbox yet, but if you have, please leave me a message on under my post, and then I will check it. And I say that because there were a few times where I was not getting messages, and I saw what people had been messaging me, but it didn't flag it as a received message. So please let me know if that's you, and I will set up a time for you to get your personal reading. And I don't see any questions in the chat, and I do know of one that is not able to, so you're fine. All right. Well, you all have a good night, and I'll see you again next Tuesday at 11 p.m. And should I not be able to, because I will be traveling, I will leave a message stating that we will not be having cards and conversations, but I will make up that day for everyone. But I did want to let everyone know that. So have a good night, and I can't wait to see you soon.